Alright, so I was playing Granny 3 at 2 a.m., getting absolutely demolished by an old man in a bathrobe, and somewhere between the third time he clubbed me and the fourth time I fell through a floorboard, a thought crossed my mind. A very stupid, very important thought. This man owns a massive property. Like absurdly large. Multiple buildings, a lake, a garage, a basement, an attic, a whole backyard with escape vehicles in it. And I'm just supposed to run around it getting chased and never once stop to ask what this man's net worth is. So that's what we're doing. A full financial audit of Grandpa from Granny 2 and Granny 3 because he is either secretly loaded or the most delinquent homeowner in gaming history. Let's start with the obvious, the house. And I say the house like it's one thing, it's not. Granny Chapter 2 literally takes place in Grandpa's house, and that house is described as quite big, having 5 floors and each floor being very spacious. In Granny 3 it gets even dumber. Granny and Grandpa have moved into a new old mansion with a moat and a high wall around it as protection, or rather to make escape attempts more difficult. So it's not a starter home, it's a compound with a moat you definitely did not get a permit for. The style is rural, old-school American, or Swedish if you believe the deeper lore. The kind of place where the nearest Walmart is 45 minutes away. Now for the appraisal, because my first estimate was way too generous. I said 700,000. In reality, rural Appalachia is cheap. You can literally buy 3 acres in Appalachia, VA, for $145,000 right now with a house on it. The Granny 3 mansion itself is even funnier. Because the mansion model is from CG Trader and costs $22. So developer spent $22 to become a real estate mogul. If this were a normal 4-bedroom farmhouse on 3 acres in decent shape, sure, maybe $300. But Grandpa's place is not in decent shape. Holes in the floors, blood on the walls, a cage in the basement, bear traps instead of a security system. No bank is financing that. It's a condemned, distressed, cash buyer only investor special. Real world as is. $150 to $250 tops. And we know the timeline is recent because the coin in Granny 3 has a production date of 2020, which confirms Granny 3 is set sometime in or after 2020, so we have to use post-COVID pricing, not 1990s pricing. Then there's the car. I said there was a car in the Granny 2 garage. That's actually wrong and it's my bad. The drivable car is the Granny 1 Escape. In Granny 2 the new vehicle is the boat. And you also have the helicopter. Granny 3 gives you the main gate and the train. So that beat-up sedan you remember is still canon, but it's not worth much. Even if it runs, which it barely does, a peeling, flat-tired Clinton administration car that needs a battery, a key, and a prayer is worth maybe $2,000 to $4,000. Not zero, but close. Inside, the house is full of stuff. Dressers, tables, a grandfather clock, paintings, a piano in some versions. It all looks like it was bought at a garage sale in 1987 and never dusted. Old does not mean worthless, but it also does not mean valuable. If that clock is real, maybe $500 to $2,000. The rest of the solid wood furniture across the whole house maybe another few thousand. Realistically, you're looking at $5 to $8 total in household goods. Someone at some point bought that piano and I have questions about whether they are still alive. Probably not, given the context. Now the weapons. And this is where the lore actually matters. I called it a baseball bat and a crossbow. It's not. In Granny 3, Grandpa does not hear very well, but he loves to shoot with his shotgun on everything that moves. In Granny 2, the weapon key now opens to a safe containing the shotgun and 2 ammo. He does use a wooden club in Chapter 2, but the primary firearm is a double-barrel shotgun, not a crossbow. That crossbow belongs to Granny. Add in bear traps at $40 to $80 each, padlocks, chains, and locks on every single door, and his whole arsenal is maybe $1,000 to $1,500. This man has a $250,000 property and protects it with a setup that would make a prison warden say maybe that's a little much, and a Ring doorbell would have been cheaper. Which brings us to the big question. How does he pay for any of this? Does he have a job? A pension of $401k. This man is 70, maybe 80. The average Social Security retirement check stood at about $1,960 per month as of November 2025, and after COLA it was pushing to about $2,016 in early 2026. That's about $24 a year if you actually paid into the system for 40 years. Looking at this man, looking at the stains on his shirt, looking at the fact that his primary hobby is kidnapping explorers and keeping them in a jail cell, I do not think he was filing his taxes. Which leaves 2 options. Either this property has been in the family for generations and he's been living off savings, or, and this is my theory, Granny controls the money and Grandpa is just unpaid security, a bouncer in a bathrobe, so let's total the corrected audit. Real estate as is $200,000 in the middle. Vehicles and junk $3,000. Household goods $6,000. Shotgun and Home Depot security system, $1,200. Cash stuffed in a mattress because this man absolutely does not trust banks, $5,000. Grand total, roughly $215,200. The mean household net worth in the US is skewed by the rich and sits at about $1.06 million, but the median, the number that matters for normal people, is about $192,900. So on paper, Grandpa is still slightly above average. He technically owns more than most Americans will ever own. And yet I would not trade my life for his for a second. Not for all the rural acreage in Georgia. He is worth $250,000 on paper and lives like a raccoon who lost a fight with a shed. He eats whatever he eats, wears the same outfit every day, has no friends, no healthcare plan besides I will simply not go to the doctor, and his entertainment is chasing college students through a hallway. Money without a life is just a number on a deed, and Grandpa's deed is written in blood. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I literally died on his kitchen floor 6 times last night.